listen to it, you are fucking out of your mind. And one of these pieces of advice is on there, okay? What does he mean by that? What's he saying? What's this guy getting at? I can't understand. I can't get a read on him. He's so all over the place. What's he saying? On there? What? I don't get it. Careful, caution. This guy's dropping truth bombs left and right. Oh my God, it's like Jordan Peterson. On there, okay? Guess what?
All right, everyone. This is from Terra Incognita mixtape by Thinking Heart. Great work. The track we're listening to right there is, I believe it's Tweeting Tipper, or it might be Portal Surfer. You'll have to check out the whole thing. It's 28 minutes long. We've premiered it here before on this channel. I'll probably do it later on this evening. Go ahead and share the stream. In fact, we'll just give it another minute or so. Share the stream. We'll wait till we have about 50 terrorists in here, and then we'll start.
Nigga. You want to hear about apertures and SD cards? Because you're about to hear for 35 fucking minutes. Get your manager. Go get your manager. Because I want to tell him the story too. No, don't even get your manager. Get your manager's manager. Because I want to tell him all about...
All right, thank you very much for sharing the stream. It looks like we are packed to capacity. I see about, 47, 48 people crammed in here so far. And by the way, if you're on YouTube, I'm not going to be reading the chats. I mean, I am actually. It's the Restream bot. But I'm going to be over here on DLive. And if you don't come over to DLive, you don't get any of the prize money, which you get. It's kind of like YouTube, except the super chats arrive in the form of food items. Not all that. It's not Pizzagate-y. It's just ice cream and lemons and stuff. But anyway, I'm not going to be paying as much attention over there, at least not till we cross over the 1,000 line. We're at 791 subs. We'd like to get 200 more. The sooner I get to 1,000, the sooner it archives videos, the sooner it becomes kind of akin to what YouTube used to be. YouTube used to be an archive. But I've had this channel burned down so many times that you know now that it's kind of pointless to try to build over there. But you can here, but you got to be a partner. You need 1,000 subs. Again, this is Infinite Plane Radio on DLive. We had a good turnout last night, and it was just open phones, which I may do tonight. But the first thing I wanted to talk about is I had a listening party over there. It was Mark Sargent and what's his name, Russian Vids. And I've been saying Russian Hypocrite just because I walked in when Russian Vids was calling Eric Dubay a phony. Because Eric Dubay has never actually met anybody in person except for one person that he knew of. And I'm like, wait, nobody's met Russian Vids. Nobody knows what he looks like. I don't think he looks like Roddy Rowdy Piper from They Live. I think that's just an avatar. So nobody knows what he looks like. He's never showed himself in person, never puts his face out there, which is shady, and he calls Eric Dubay shady. Eric Dubay's been very transparent. Except when he's pretending to be Jada Caspi and writing fluff pieces for Forbes in order to discredit the idea of exploration, except when he's shilling. And there are shills, despite what the shills will tell you. Okay, so in fact, I'm not even a shill spotter. I've always been against that because I don't really think it's all that useful of a use of our time and resources. I think we just need to recognize where we differ on our approaches and then just faction accordingly. And I think everything's going swimmingly. Like, we don't have to get along. We just have to, stay in our lanes, more or less. But I was listening to this and it was pretty interesting. So let's see. It was a watch party. I saw a few socks I didn't recognize. Some I did. I want to give shouts out to the Laughing Birds, all the way from Brokeback Mountain, Canada, who showed up with dozens of socks. Wasn't us. I did see a number of people that I recognize in there, and they get through the filters because we tend to use phrases that they're not familiar with. They don't know what SPOD means, so it gets through their filters. It's amazing though how censorious these flat Earth YouTube channels can be. Like really, it's bizarre. It's like Animal Farm or something, where the animals have just become the new farmers. Anyway. We were watching the anonymous Russian vids, which is misleading. He's never uploaded a single video about Russia, not once. Where did he even? I mean, look, if you had a channel called Japanese Vids and you just ranted about meatloaf and the dome. So anyway, Russian Vids, who nobody has met, was talking to the enclosed system dome expert, and as we predicted, they were pretty happy about the hit piece on Jimmy Kimmel, which they're of a different school of thought. They believe any attention is good attention, unless it's Mad Mike, of course, which we'll get to. But what struck me was it was almost like Mark has decided to just come out swinging. It's like, when did he go on the offensive? I thought he was kind of passive. But he seemed to have a few things to get out, a few things to get off his chest whenever he could, in between Russian vids, aka Call for an Uprising's rants about obscure, mostly forgotten commercials from the 80s and meatloaf lyrics. I mean, I have a quote here from Russian vids. He said, "This reality is a matrix with two heads and a snake body." Like, what does that even mean? A matrix with two heads and a snake body? Like what, a two-headed snake made out of a bunch of numbers? Like, I don't get it. Anyway, Mark Sargent was basically talking about how he originally promoted Math Powerland in 2015, but he said Math Powerland, quote, cannot form a coherent thought, which kind of surprised me. I was like, okay, so he's taking shots at people. Interesting. And then they brought up Mad Mike, and basically Mark said Mad Mike has no interest in the flat earth. He just hit them up for some money. He did mention the documentary to his credit, although he failed to mention that Mad Mike's documentary is way better than Behind the Curve. But he at least mentioned it exists. Russian Vids chimed in to say, "This is what bothered me about Mad Mike. He did it as a bandwagon jumper." And he pretty much said that Mike didn't come up with the body of content that Eric Dubay or P. Murphy brought. So for him to suddenly take the center stage, it kind of made Russian Vids mad. And he said, quote, "How did he get propped up? That ticked me off with his big gimmick." And then Russian Vids, who nobody has ever met or seen, called Mad Mike a clown. So that was nice. Then they discussed the protest, which it was, and they really, this was from back in 2018, the Denver conference, how they heard that Mike was going to go show up with his rocket because they were ignoring him. And he pretty much agreed that they let Mike in just to shut him up because they knew he wasn't going to go away. He had a megaphone. And again, Russian Vids insisted that Mike is just on the bandwagon, just in it for the money, and how it's a shame. After this, they go on to say how much they hate Logan Paul, which I thought was a little extreme. And strangely, Mark decided to call Logan Paul. Well, he said Logan Paul's girlfriend was a hired, I guess, an escort. So he said Logan Paul's girlfriend is a whore or a hooker, and that Logan Paul is in fact gay. And I'm like, why would you even put that out there? So it just seemed like a big gossip fest. They were really happy about the Jimmy Kimmel thing. But I just thought it was worth noting that an anonymous voice in this movement, whatever you want to call it, Russian Vids, has a whole lot of crap to say about a lot of people, and nothing to back it up because he's just another sock, if you ask me. He has no skin in the game. And as far as what his message is, I don't know. He talks about how every movie has something shaped like a dome, and how if you listen to Meatloaf backwards, you hear messages about the flat earth. Like, we've all heard it, right? Okay, let me see. I'm checking here. If anybody is on D Live, you may want to refresh it if you're having issues with it going on and off. It just depends, but you can also watch on Twitch or YouTube, or I think we also have float.app. Oh, and on the screen, Yeah, I just want to correct everybody. That's not a shill. Despite what it looks like, despite how it moves, we've been through this before. Uh, just because it looks like something or moves like something and is shaped like something and appears to be something doesn't mean it is that something. Like I'm telling you, that's ice. Mick West would agree. I think Fight the Flat Earth would agree. Red's Rhetoric would agree. That's obviously ice. He would call you stupid if you didn't agree. Oh, yes, we're also on Periscope. Breakaway Civilization says that's melting ice. Yeah, I'd call that melting ice. Yeah, if you follow me on Twitter, it's Infinite Planar. We do a live stream there as well. It's called Periscope. And wherever you go, Budsicle says it's a mouse. Well, Belu from Globebusters would call that pareidolia. Oh, you're mentally ill. You got pareidolia because you think that's a mouse. No, man, I'm telling you, Mick West of Metabunk would say it's obviously a video compression artifact that's been frozen. It's a frozen video compression artifact. Tim Truth says it's definitely a compression glitch more than a mouse-shaped ice. Yep, Strange Bird says ice, mice, same bish. Yeah, it's something. In other news, okay, here's something I want to bring up right from the get-go. I'm not going to tell you who this is. I'm trying to just get honesty out of everybody. Just straight up, like, what does it look like? When you're seeing the screen here, I'm showing you a pair of ears. Is it the same person? Does everyone here agree or disagree? Does this look like the same person? Put a 1 in the chat if you think it's the same. Put 2 if you think it's not. And if you don't know, or if it's kind of in between, you can just say no. I mean, this isn't one of these double binds. There's no interrogator bias. I'm not trying to force you to agree to an answer. I see no, 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 yes, no. Somebody says different person. Tim Truth says looks the same. Skin tone is off, age is off, shape is off. Well, okay. That would be a no. We're looking at different lighting, and one of them is flushed. I'm just talking about if you just look at it, just right off the bat, what would you think? And I'll be referencing that one again here soon. I don't want to bias anybody by letting you know whose ears we're actually looking at, but we're going to do a similar comparison here, and this is going to be with hands. Again, this isn't definitive. These aren't the best pictures. Does anyone here? Somebody says those are close. Well, one of the ears is wearing an earpiece, but I'm just grabbing these. They're not random. So now here's another set of hands. What do you think? Same hands? Based on first impression? So I got an example of something to show you, and this came out today. If you go to samebish.com, that's SAMEBISH, samebish.com. We've been doing this for some time now. We've been comparing and juxtaposing individuals who have basically been proposed by various people. I mean, I have various sources, and I don't know where they get it. I generally don't ask. But people who suggest certain things, like this ongoing thing where they're saying that Stephen Curry, the basketball player's wife, Aisha, is actually Miley Cyrus in a kind of a fat suit. But look at this one here. So this is samebish.com, where we've done a number of these comparisons. You're familiar with all of them, I'm sure. We refer to these as deep fakes here because I think that these are the real deep fakes, not the digital ones, not the CGI things where they swap celebrities' faces to create viral content, just clickbait. No, I'm talking about high-tech masks or other forms of subterfuge in order to insert essentially puppets onto the world stage. But anyway, here's an example of one that's been exposed. So this is a disgraced social media entertainer. It's not all that dark. I mean, basically he was a guy who made himself famous on YouTube for lip syncing to various songs. That's all. His name was Paul Zimmer. And so Paul Zimmer, I guess he sold a lot of stickers to his fans, and so he went in the hole by quite a bit of money. He couldn't afford it or something. He didn't fulfill the orders for a bunch of stickers, and so he pretty much hung up his channel in shame, and he said, "No, I'm out." Well, then a few months later, this new guy comes back using his same social media page, and he calls himself Troy Becker. And Paul Zimmer sends a message to his fans saying, "I found a friend. His name's Troy. He looks like me, but he's younger and more entertaining. Please follow him." So he basically reinvented himself as Troy Becker, but he didn't fake his death first. He just went for Paul Zimmer to Troy Becker, and he got called out pretty bad by a number of people, and Inform Overload picked it up. And right after they broadcast this, about 2 hours afterward, Paul Zimmer deactivated the Instagram account. Now, I'm not going to play their content here. This is Inform Overload. You can get this video at samebish.com. I embedded it here. But she goes through the whole story, which is ridiculous and pathetic, and I don't know what this is. It's just attention seeking, or maybe it's just trying to maintain a brand by reinventing it. So he, oddly enough, handed over his account to somebody else. He says, "My Instagram is now going to be given to Troy Becker to spread joy. I'm honored to have so many people to reach, but I'm going to take time to myself. I no longer use this social media. We look the same, I must admit." And he admits they look the same. Yeah, he just dyed his hair, changed his name. It's ridiculous. Anyway, deep faker, just another deep faker. Not as dramatic as Tupac in his exit and his reemergence, but I think that's one of the things that they do, though, is they just kind of change a few basic things. They have there's always a backstory, and most people probably wouldn't notice. Like even this one here has got some people really scratching their heads now. We looked at it last night because we're not talking about like something they just started doing. We're talking, if this is the case, which I believe this one is as well, it just happens, you look at, do they have a background? Is there a history that they intersect? And you find a lot of interesting connections between these various characters that go through their entire lives. Like this character was actually in one of her TV shows, but never in the same shot. Yeah, Tim Truth, they used the same account, that Troy Becker, Paul Zimmer guy. He didn't even change the Instagram account. I guess he didn't want to lose those subs, and he thought he could keep them. It'd be like me handing my account over to somebody else and saying, "Hey, this guy here thinks that the space station's fake, and we kind of sound the same, so see ya." It would seem kind of weird. And then the new guy sounds just like me, and it's just me with like a different hair color. Let's see. Jordan says Aisha Curry is most definitely Miley Cyrus. Yeah, that one's pretty obvious. There's a big backstory that really supports it as well. Okay, let's get into the next topic. This was something that kind of surprised me. It had to do with Arwen. Just drama. This is why I kind of disavow YouTube. Just wherever I go, it just seems like people are always fighting. So even Arwen decided to take on Bob of Globebusters in a chat, and yeah, it was pretty brutal, and I won't go over it here. Just some of these comments, I was kind of taken aback. I always thought he was kind of peaceful or pacifistic. In fact, when I first met Arwen, it wasn't really through Arwen. He was messaging people to get to me, begging for a quote wrench for the chat. Okay, here we go. Arwen goes on the offensive. Glowbuster says, "I'm very disappointed in Arjuin." Now, if you don't know who Arwen is, it's one of these faction things I was talking about earlier. So at the very beginning of the Flat Earth conversation, you had a lot of people who put this dome model up front and said, "Yeah, we live under a dome." Then you had this other faction who said, "Well, maybe it's just a simulation. Like you go off one side and you come back on the other." And Arwen would be in that. So Arwen represents that particular faction. That's not Arwen. That's not Arwen. I'm trying to find the right meme here, picture here. So he represents the rectangular looping Earthers, and they're the ones who believe that the Earth's edge, like the Earth is literally a square, and if you go off the edge, you disappear like Pac-Man from that side and you come back to the other. So he's pretty much the main proponent of that. He's kind of like leads. You got Lord Stephen Christ with the concavers. Well, you got Arwen with the rectangular loopers. But he went on the offensive against globusters, prompting Bob to say, "You sound like globers proclaiming how stupid I am. Shake my head." Got pretty heated. He said, "I'm very disappointed in you, Arwen," which might hurt whatever Arwen says. Then he pretty much ends it. Nice ad hominem, Arwen. We are done here, and he left. So I don't know what you want to make of it. Like I said, I'm kind of an outsider there to the YouTube situation, but whenever I look in, I'm like, oh yeah, that's why I'm over on DLive. Lean Dion says, "R for the win." Hey, does anybody have that song or a link to Leave Arwen Alone? Commenter says, "Does the Pac-Man thing make a copy on the opposite side like having infinite Earths next to each other, or is it teleportation?" You'd have to ask Arwen. I think they're talking about teleportation, and that you're going back to the same place with this version. And it's based on the idea that I think we're in some type of a simulation, and I don't know what flatness necessarily has to do with that. I mean, even David Icke pushes the theory of simulation, but he never took anything outside of the context of heliocentrism. We have some more important things to talk about. So, despite this idea that all publicity is good publicity, yeah, there's some people who might disagree with that. So, check this out. This is from centraltrack.com. Shocker, the Flat Earth Conference was bonkers. And there's a few pieces like this. The hit pieces that I predicted back in December, they took a little longer. And this is the guy who I think they hired to pretend to be Eric Dubay and talk about veganism and baby or fetus cells in Pepsi. This is that guy. A Breakaway Civilization says Arwen got the old Flat Earth documentary which aired on Channel 4 of the BBC in the 80s. It could be. I don't know where he's from, but I think he's from that side of the world. I think he's Transylvanian. And I know that documentary you're talking about. I actually like it. It didn't even seem like a hit piece. They just weren't activists. See, that's the main thing. The flat Earth idea has been around for a while. It's not like it was an ancient idea that was beat back 500 years ago. No, it's like a modern concept, but it never had activists on this level, I don't think. I mean, originally it did. There were billboards 100 years ago. Okay, so shocker, the Flat Earth Conference in Frisco is bonkers. And they're talking about Frisco, which is just north of Dallas. He says it took some time, but the Flat Earth Conference just north of Dallas is finally getting the internet shame treatment. And I told you it was coming. Stuff is Flat says, "Who's this on the screen?" Oh, you missed it. This was yesterday. You'll see, actually. We'll go through these characters again. We found something here. There's a couple of hit pieces where one of the actors shows up on the Jimmy Kimmel show, and on this guy's show he actually calls Jimmy Kimmel a Jew, and then he talks about Hitler. Okay, so back in November, the Flat Earthers gathered 45 minutes north of Dallas at the Embassy Suites for a weekend of discussions about how the world is in fact a disk. According to some reports from the two-day event, they also engaged in some casual tossing around of the N-word. That's from the Dallas Observer. Now, who was that? Was that Owen Benjamin? I think Owen Benjamin lectured the Flat Earthers on why he said, if you're black, you shouldn't be offended by the N-word because that's patronizing and treats you like a child. And he just blurts it out because it's comedy, and Flat Earth, of course, needs to get into polarizing identity politics, because how else are you going to make it to Antarctica, right? Anyway, it says, "We live in an internet-obsessed age in which nothing is above reproach. Least of all, a gang of paranoid conspiracy theorists who fancy themselves smarter than those who gave up this debate centuries ago. They were joined by several camera crews who showed up to exploit the ridiculous premise and the oddball participants in the name of humor. So I went over these yesterday. This is all gas, no brakes. And it's definitely a soft hit piece, but he lets them put themselves in these positions. Like, so for example, Watson here says nothing crazy. He's completely sensible, as always. He's a great artist, and I always think that when I look at his work, he represents this idea well. He's not any of these things they would say as far as crazy, paranoid, or whatever. But then they do bring in the crazies. And the crazies they do bring in, I believe, are paid actors. Look at this guy here. Does anybody know who this is? Someone says, my stepdad's first impression of the fat flat earther in the yellow shirt was that it's Alex Jones. Yeah, I thought it was too. In some hideous mask. Like a big bodysuit. But no, I think this guy is an actor, though. Could be, though. I haven't ruled it out.
Gang? Yeah, flat gang. All the way. That's flat.
No, I'm pretty sure it's an actor because he also shows up again on Jimmy Kimmel. So there were these two different crews, and they were sharing actors. I'm not really sure what to make of it necessarily, but Cat Bunny Buffalo says it's Bill Hicks. Yeah, let's not even use the name Alex Jones. If you still think that Alex Jones isn't Bill Hicks, like, what's stopping you? Like, honestly, what is stopping you from just recognizing what's in front of you and reading the script? Like, it's there. I mean, do you know who Kevin Booth is? Like, we passed that a long time ago. Once you get past that, and it's this is the main point. It's not an anomaly. It happens all the time, and it's not just death fakers. It's people being reinvented. It's a world stage, people being shuffled around, and we're catching on to things. The fact that Alex Jones is a character shouldn't shock you at all. And the fact that they hired an actor who could portray what they wanted to be, an extreme right-winger who could be used as this perpetual straw man, like, that makes perfect sense. Why wouldn't you hire somebody like Bill Hicks? Have you heard his comedy? Okay, again, let's move on. That's the guy in yellow. I've had enough of him and his. This is what. Okay, so Mark and Russian Vids in their little hangout there, we're talking about how great this is because all publicity is good publicity. This is what we're talking about. This was on Jimmy Kimmel for 8 minutes. It's like, I'm not really in that school of thought. I mean, getting hit pieces to trend while ignoring Mad Mike.
New Swabia away from public scrutiny. And I just wanted to say.
That's pretty much this guy talks about Hitler or whatever. Okay, now this guy here, I think this guy, his name is Lance. And I thought he was from NSYNC, but no. I'm pretty sure they hired this guy and told him, hey, we need you to play the role of Eric Dubay. And there's another guy I think they have playing the role of Math Powerland. And you'll see what I mean. He basically talks about how much he loves Hitler, vegetarianism, and the Jews, which is basically Eric Dubay's whole curriculum.
Had aborted babies, like the little fecal cells inside of their flavoring.
Is there anything that you don't think was an inside job?
That's a tough one. The Jews are in fucking. They freaking control all of everything. I mean, 9/11. Back to that. You know what? I used to lie to people a lot about.
Okay, so this is Lance again. I don't believe he's a real person. Like, I think this is an actor. Tim True says, I wonder how many keyboard agents they have in chats. Well, I know they hired 10,000 in December of 2017. Okay, so I'm pretty sure that one's an actor. Now, these guys are real. They just rap. And Nathan Thompson, who kicked down his girlfriend's door and terrorized her and her 2-year-old toddler because he was drunk. I don't know how anybody can endorse this guy still. I mean, Mark Sargent still promotes his events. It's like, Mark, why are you sending people, potential victims, to a predator? And I consider a guy who kicks down a woman's door when she says no, no, and she has got a toddler, to be a predator. And he's lucky he didn't get shot. I mean, a lot of people get shot by kicking down doors, and he kicks down some single mother's door who's defending her kid, and he's drunk, raging, and needs to shave. I mean, All right, let's move on. He does do something here worth noting, though. He makes a comment about the Jews and how they all. He says basically, no, the good Jews own delis, but then the other ones are gravelers.
And some gravelers, you know. Most Jewish people are just mom and pop's deli involved, and some gravelers, you know.
So when they say gravelers, they mean Jews. Basically, it's a caricature, a hand wringing. It signifies greed. These are just stereotypes. When I met him, the first thing he said was, "Do you agree with me that the protocols of the learned elders of Zion describes how this world works?" And of course my answer is no. Like, that was discredited, it's a forgery, it's obviously a hoax. And I'm like, oh, look in the background, is that authentic intent? Not that I'm, nitpicking here, but I'm just like, all right, so you got another sex offender in the shot here. I mean, you know that the founder of the Biblical Flat Earth Society, Philip Stallings, is in jail right now. He got arrested earlier in 2019. 56 charges of exploitation of a minor. We got into his Facebook page finally, and it's like all these people hanging out, just way too close proximity to some psychotic elements here. Now this guy here, this guy with the orange sweater, the one who says, well, what do you think about Hitler? This one's unbelievable.
Names. What we're standing on here is not what they told us it is. The whole thing can be solved very easily. How do you stand on Hitler?
The whole thing can be solved easily. How do you stand on Hitler, dude? Okay, so this guy who's on this show, again, it's called All Gas No Brakes. He shows up on Jimmy Kimmel. He's the one who saves Mark from Jake Bird. So this guy here, who at the very beginning of this little skit actually calls Jimmy Kimmel a Jew. So you got Nathan Thompson saying, oh, well, it's the Jews. And then this guy comes along.
It's all mind control. You got a Kimmel and
you got a Kimmel and you got a Fallon,
and I think both of those are Jewish
background. What do you think about Hitler? So this guy was on Jimmy Kimmel saving Mark from Jake Bird. Does anybody here think that's a little fishy? That this guy would be on Jimmy Kimmel after calling Jimmy Kimmel a Jew? Like, I'm saying this is a hit piece. This idea that all publicity is good, it's like, I don't know where they get that idea from. I mean, that's like the worst strategy. And then you have this guy who's always talking about toilet water in Australia and how much better it is for your... This guy is bizarre, but we'll listen.
It's a question that you need to answer. Thanks, Andrew. Do you feel yourself spinning, wobbling, gyrating? The earth doesn't move. We don't have toilet water flying out on people in Australia.
Okay. And now, this final one I want to show you. This one, I'm convinced, like I said, the other guy I think was based on... I'm pretty sure it was based on Dubé, the vegan Nazi guy. This guy's based on Powerland. Check this out.
Well, I'm asking you. Get you thinking, right? Is this a photo or a painting? What is this a photo or a painting?
Well, still, amongst us. Bill Nye?
Photo or a painting?
What's the answer,
Yeah, photo or painting. This is the photo or painting thing.
man?
Well, I'm asking you. Get you thinking, right? So, like, what are you really seeing? Is it an image? Because images can be Photoshopped, right? That's what really gets you going, and then you kind of go from there, man.
Little duper's delight because he knows he's playing.
Right? So, like,
this is a character, hit piece actor. So this is a hit piece actor targeting Powerland. This other guy is a hit piece actor he's targeting everybody. This is Nathan Thompson creating a caricature that flat earthers are crazy, scary, abusive. They reek of wine, and they hate Jews a lot. And then you have this guy, vegan, blames everything on the Jews, and then the rest of them are just bad rappers and oddballs. Like, mission accomplished, and again, I don't consider this to be positive coverage. All publicity is good publicity. No, he says here, according to some reports, they engaged in the casual tossing around of the N-word. Sound like your kind of party? No, you're not alone. So, no, this is not positive coverage. Now, check this out. This is the thing with Jake Bird. So, at the end of this one, there's a little confrontation before Jake Bird gets kicked out. The confrontation is between Mark and Bird. And then Karen B walks by, scratching her posterior. It's like, great cameo there. So he gets kicked out, but look who rescues him. The guy that comes to the rescue is Mr. Orange Sweater.
Did you think this guy was a controlled opposition when he came up there and had a really stupid question?
He said, did you know this guy was controlled opposition when he came up to you to ask stupid questions? And Mark said no. Now, we do have some witnesses from the side, someone who called in the night before who said that they were there and they knew this thing, but look.
About being open-minded.
Did you think this guy was a controlled opposition when he came up there and had a really stupid question?
So this is Mr. Kimmel's a Jew, Hitler, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that's just one piece that I thought might interest you. There's a few others, and I'll probably get to all of them as we go along here. Commenter says, note, vegans are not all crazy. Oh yeah, you remember the vegan who went crazy and said that we need to start eating the babies? She went up to Cortez and she said, the Green New Deal's not enough. We got to stop having babies. We got to eat the babies. And everyone thought she was mentally ill. Turns out she was an actress. And she turned up at this Philadelphia Trump town hall meeting outside and laughed about it, in fact. Mac Miller, this just came to me today. They said, yeah, he's got his new album come out on the 17th. Always worth noting, suspected death fakers are always attended by these posthumous releases. Same goes for books. I've noticed the same thing with books. Let's see if there's anything else we've missed in here. Mousegate, yeah, we went over that yesterday. Mousegate has triggered Red's rhetoric and Fight the Flat Earth like you wouldn't believe. They are reacting to the first mouse. But the thing is, and those of you who've been watching this, know there's actually more than one now. And to me, honestly, to me, it looks like CGI. Let's see what else. Okay, everyone did see. Yeah, let me show you who we're talking about. The Eat the Babies. Covered this on autohoax.com. Actually, we gave her an award, I believe. We gave her an award for the greatest crisis actor of the year. Budsicle asks, is this live? And the answer is no. It's just a bizarre coincidence. Okay, I've got it here. I don't have her name, though, but we do know that the person who approached AOC, pretending to be a supporter, said, we have to eat the babies. She was apparently this frantic eco-fascist. Okay, take a listen.
Be here for much long because of the climate crisis. We only have a few months left. I love that you support the Green Deal, but it's not getting rid of fossil fuel. It's not going to solve the problem fast enough. A Swedish professor saying, we can eat dead people, but that's not fast enough. So I think your next campaign slogan has to be this: we got to start eating babies. We don't have enough time.
Okay, she's the one. We have to eat the babies, save the planet. So people didn't know if she was crazy or what. Well, you can look at her face here. They approached her at a rally in Pennsylvania. And yes, she's deep faking as an environmentalist in order to make them look dumb. Now, funnily enough, though, a week before, I had actually said that a lot of these people on the far left could probably argue in favor of cannibalism to save the planet and would probably start with the babies. So we were saying this in jest. So when she came out, I was like, yeah.
She went to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez town hall and she said, I like that you guys are banning the CO2 and trying to shut down.
Yeah, that was her laughing, thought it was hilarious. And look, it worked. Because the thing is, when you're dealing with psychodrama, some people don't even care if it's real or not. I didn't care. I was like, yeah, the left wants to eat your babies. Like, I ran with that. Someone said, what do you think about the Iran shooting down the commercial plane, real or fake? Video looks pretty real. Video never looks real to me. I mean, how can you even stand by that statement? The video looks pretty real to me. Like, real according to who? I've got clips of Joe Rogan scratching his head because he can't figure out if he's looking at a real Porsche or a CGI Porsche or a real Blue Origin rocket launch or a CGI one. People are completely mandoozled by video technology. So to say that you're looking at video as source, as evidence, it's like, well, no. Think about William Randolph Hearst. Remember he said, you provide the pictures, I'll provide the war. Let me go ahead and open my phones, 505-510-4226. I say I have a caller, but I have to turn the ringer on. So you may want to hang up and call right back. And let me know in the chat, does everybody here agree that Russian Vids is a huge hypocrite for calling Eric Dubé a phony, since nobody's ever met Eric Dubé in person? I mean, I just think it's out of line for an anonymous person who's concealing their identity for unknown reasons, concealing their faces. Completely opaque. So, hey, look, I turned my ringer on, so go ahead and call right back. And while we're waiting for you to call, this is I leave Arwen alone.
So at some point, to get an R value, he has to presuppose he's on a sphere, correct?
And this, of course, is by, let me just double check it. Yes, Arwen did 9. Oh.
Why are you answering for him, Arwen? Every time it's starting to get on my nerves.
We'll get back to it. Hey, what's up, caller?
IPS, this is Cam B.
Hey, what's up, Cam B?
Really quick, man. I had to run this by you. I am watching ABC right now, and they have a special on Jeffrey Epstein, okay?
Right.
And I've told you guys this. We all know. Well, I know. I'm 100% convinced. Barack Obama is wearing a hyper-realistic mask, you guys, and playing the role of Epstein, okay? When I found this out, I scoured the internet for any kind of footage of this guy. The only thing I found, and I think you could attest to this too, right? The only thing we found was about what? Like a 20-second clip of him at a disposition or whatever it is, deposition.
Yeah,
and
that was it.
That was it, right? Okay. ABC is airing so much new footage of Epstein and up close. It's insane, you guys. This is full-on damage control. They know. And what they're doing right now is they're showing Epstein in all these different situational rooms and stuff like that being questioned. It's Barack, you guys. And they're responding to us because they know that they put Barack back in that suit, so he could, they could take more footage of him as Epstein just to convince the masses, okay? This is what they're doing right now.
This is great news. This is hilarious. The damage control, to me, is always what gives away the game when we see this almost direct response. So for people who don't know, Cam B asserts that Epstein is a total construct made for TV character played by a trained actor, and that the actor is someone you might be familiar with who's played other roles that Cam B has pointed out. And this is going to sound unbelievable, but on the scale of 1 to 10, it's like a 3 or a 4 compared to reptilians, just to say that you got politicians who are actually actors. We all know this. You're just asserting that they're actors who are using Hollywood tech. So you're suggesting that Barack Obama is playing the role of, or played the role for decades, for Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, and it's funny. Of course, they love to call their orange and their 33 and everything. And this is so high resolution now. In this new footage of him, he's wearing orange framed glasses. And it's hilarious. And you can clearly tell. I can tell. This is the thing. The mask technology, they've been using it for decades. Probably back since maybe the 70s or 80s, maybe. Okay? But it wasn't good enough to pass as real, right? So, back in the day, in the 90s, they had a footage of Epstein with Trump. And you can clearly tell that is like a wool carpeted rug that he's wearing back in that 92 footage with Trump. The mask technology has gotten better and better. And that's why today you can't tell that that's Obama like you could back in 92. Do you understand where I'm coming from?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And we've been discussing these hyper-realistic silicone masks at length. And so what you're asserting here, and this was the first one you ever brought up to me before, that these are long-term characters that they play, and it's all for the world stage. It's like, I've been describing the tabloid world that you see in the magazines as like its own reality. Like it's just fabrication. So you're suggesting here that Barack Obama is wearing this mask and that he's playing this role. And when he first brought it up, the very first thing I noticed when I looked at Epstein is how, despite everything looking normal, the eyes are a little too recessed, too deep into the head.
Yeah, the eyes will, listen, you guys, the eyes will give it away on every single one of these characters. They cannot hide the eye. They could change the color with, hyper realistic contact lenses, not the ones that we're used to. They have different technology that they can use. Okay, that is undetectable. But this is absolutely what they're doing. To me, the dead giveaway for Epstein is going to be, and I've touched on this before, is going to be the corners of the mouth. Barack has that Joker smile. He's got those little corners on the sides of his smile. They can't hide that on Epstein. They try, you can tell, but it comes through way too much. That Joker smile comes through every single time. It's him.
So, did you see my earlier comments about Paul Zimmer and Troy Becker? You probably don't know who they are. I mean, I didn't until today.
Paul Zimmer, no. Yeah. Okay, yes, I did. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
This is just showing people though how this is like a standard practice with some of these celebrities to reinvent themselves, and we're just looking at how this technology is being applied everywhere. But yeah, this is an example of a social media person. Instead of faking his death and coming back, he's changing. He's probably just hired some professionals and got an acting coach or something, changed his earrings. But even on this one, I was comparing this with a friend, and they're saying, even the ears look a little different when you add the earrings. It changes the way they set. Like, there are subtle things here. So you're talking about Epstein and Obama, and the things that I've noticed, like you mentioned here, the corners of the mouth, the chin, the jawline, but I also look at the brow line. Like, they can change the ears, they can wrap this silicone thing around the head, but the shape of the skull is usually pretty consistent, and their skulls, like, to me, in the top, it is a match. And the profiles, too.
Yeah, well, and then I also took a look at this, and I did a video on this today about the whole Jurassic 5 group, and a lot of people, what they're missing, I mean, and Fearless did a great job, of course, as always, with his video he dropped last night. But I took a look at this, and I said, what the thing that they're missing is? The hairlines. Now, me being black, I get my hair cut a lot, and getting lineups is something that we do, right? I guess you can call it a cultural thing, but a lot of different guys do that, when they get their hair cut. Well, I've studied this. They have the exact same hairline. So everybody in Tupac, Biggie, and Yaki Gaddafi, they all have the same hairlines as Charlie Tuna, Akil the MC, and Soup, right, in Jurassic 5. Now, referring back to Epstein and Obama, I don't know how they do this, right? However, I'm starting to notice that the overall shape of the hairlines, like Epstein is obviously a mask, but the shape of the hairline on Epstein is still similar to Barack's actual hairline. Okay? Now, I think that this is how they do it because it's very realistic. If they can, I guess it's like it has to kind of mimic the natural hairline a little bit, because if it doesn't, it's going to look completely fake. Do you know what I mean? I'm trying to explain what I mean on this one.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Like, there's a seam that you would see when somebody's wearing a mask, and they do seem to align it with the natural contours of the hairline. I have seen that, and I've actually looked into, because I've been researching this stuff, and I actually got these ads for it, for these like new forms of toupees, where basically it's just a bald cap with the hair attached, but it's super subtle. So you could just have a full head of hair and nobody would know it's a rug.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I've been seeing that so much lately, too. I want to say maybe the past year or two. especially in the in the black barber world, is like they have these like for me, I brush my hair and I get waves, right? That's just another black cultural thing. Now, when you look at these barbers, what they're doing, they have these full like glue-on, realistic like wave pattern wigs for black guys, and I guess you could use them for white guy, whatever kind of hair you have. But it's insane to me how real that is, and that's what they're giving us, and that's undetectable. That's what they're giving us. Okay, so what do they have that's on the next level, right? That's what I'm saying here. It's like we only get the bottom of the barrel. They have the technology and they're using it. They're putting it in our face, man. And and this Epstein thing I'm watching right now, currently, it pisses me off because I know that this is all a lie and it's all a joke. The joke is on us, man. And for them to have more footage of Epstein, I've never seen this much footage. I mean, I'm looking at, come on, man, I'm watching it right now. They have photos of all, it's crazy. I've never seen any of it.
Okay, so it's on ABC. I want to look at this right now. So Epstein on ABC, and I've been saying lately that Stanley Kubrick was dropping hints in his movie Eyes Wide Shut.
Yeah, of course he was. And really quick, I looked at the title of this on ABC. The title of this Epstein segment is called Truth and Lies.
Got it. Truth and Lies 2-hour podcast.
I mean, this is, oh God. And then just, of course, I think I touched on it last night, and of course we got Justin Bieber with Lyme disease. So, and I guess with Justin Bieber with Lyme disease, I heard, if he leaves that unattended, it'll change the color of his skin and make him act like The Weeknd sometimes. So he needs to.
Yeah, it flares up on the weekends. Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. And then one last thing. They just showed a clip, a photo I've never seen again of Epstein in a helicopter with a young lady. And he's got so much gray chest hair popping out of his like little zip up hoodie. It's so ridiculous, you guys. This is just sad.
Yeah, I've seen that one here. So now when it comes to his victims and all this stuff, are these all to be actors as well, considering we're suggesting this whole thing is more or less a media hoax, a soap opera?
Yeah. Crisis actors, 100,000%. All of them. They are all actors, all actresses and actors. Everybody that has anything to do with this is a part of it.
Well, I have to say, anybody looking at this, Epstein's eyes are closed, but you look at the bottom half of his mouth, and you have to. I mean, look, it looks like it does have a striking resemblance to the bottom half of Obama's face. And the types of masks we're describing and the ones that Jonah Mendez, CIA chief of disguise, discussed actually cover the entire head seamlessly, and they go down to the chest. So it could totally be a one-piece thing here.
Now, here's the other thing. This has to do with the. I think we talked about this with Aisha Curry, Miley Cyrus. But it's a full bodysuit. Okay, so that's another thing that we have to understand here. It's the arms, it's the hands, the fingers, the freaking nails. Okay, everything is covered, you guys, and it's so hard to understand this because, again, you're going to get labeled Looney Tunes if you bring this up. But for those of us that can see this, I want us to work together on how we can deconstruct this kind of stuff, man, and break it down for people to understand.
To be honest, look, I don't think it's that crazy. I mean, as far as there are people who are saying, Epstein didn't kill himself. They're acting like they're in the know. Like, they don't know. And they're completely falling for this script. But I don't really think it's crazy if we bring it up within context. And all we're asserting is that there are these hyper-realistic silicone masks which are known to be in use, that are 100% foolproof, that are completely being used throughout entertainment, throughout politics, and it shows that politics and news media and entertainment all seem to have the same backstage. I mean, if they're using the same technology, they have the same costume department.
Yes, I'm sorry. I was muted, bro. My bad. Really quick though. I wanted to bring up Oprah Winfrey's boy toy, Stedman Graham.
Yeah, I
Can you
remember.
hear me?
Okay, yeah, you sent me this email this morning. Okay, so you're suggesting that Stedman Graham, and Stedman, I guess, is some type of a joke, if that is the case, that Stedman Graham is a suit, a deep fake. And does
Yeah.
anybody here care to guess who Stedman Graham
Yeah,
may actually be?
let's have some fun. If commenters, well, I can't see anything, but let me know if I think you already know. So if the commenters, everybody want to chime in, let's guess really quick. It's gonna blow your socks off, and it's hilarious.
Well, one of the first things I do when you bring these up is like I look and I'm like, are there any sort of jokes, any sort of hints in the name? Is there a storyline here? And this one's kind of interesting.
Okay, well, for the sake of time, Stedman Graham is a made-up character, just like Oprah Winfrey. The person playing the role of Stedman Graham is none other than Ted Danson. And the name is hilarious because Stedman sounds just like it's Ted, man.
It's Ted Man. So okay, so you're saying this is far out, but I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, well, I'm checking the heights and the weights. I haven't looked that much into it, but what you're suggesting here is that yes, that Ted Danson is playing the role of Obama's wife, and that she's also or husband. Now, is Obama? Do you think also? I'm not sorry, Obama.
No,
Is
Oprah. Oprah. Yeah.
Sorry, is Oprah also, in your opinion, a completely phony, fabricated construct? And is
Yes.
Okay. What?
Yes. So Oprah is actually a white woman. Shocker. Oprah is white, and the name of the base actress is Erin Moran.
Okay, so you have a name here, Erin Moran.
Yes, that is Oprah Winfrey. She puts on blackface. Oprah is not a real person, you guys. And all these huge characters. Now, this one is gonna. I don't even. This one was dropped on me as well, and I don't even know what to do with it. But I will just bring it up. Okay. This one is going to be Tiger Woods, right?
Right.
And I can't see this one. I'm not even close to like even saying it. If you guys want to look into this, please do. Tiger Woods is being played by Russell Simmons.
I would have to look into it. I mean, what you're describing here, we got to look into this really quick. Let's look at this. You're talking about hyper-realistic silicone masks. The type that have been used by the CIA, the types that have been pretty much kept out of the public's view. We've had instances of people wearing these masks and successfully robbing banks and getting other people involved. But the ones that we see on TV, like in music videos and in the movies, even those ones, I think, are even too thick. Like they're not as good as the ones that we're not supposed to know about.
Exactly, because on the film, like this is what they do, though, right? Because it's all conditioning. Okay, so we always talk about that movie White Chicks, right, with the Wayans brothers, and that was the only purpose of that movie was to make you think that it is impossible for someone to play another gender or play another race, right, or a black person to turn white or white person to turn black. That was made for you to think that that is not possible. Not only that. If someone were to try to do something like that, it would be completely detectable. It would be noticeable as fuck, but it's not. And so this is again the conditioning that they give us, so that when they do this on TV and you know when they have politicians, when Lisa Left Eye Lopez is a freaking politician, okay, in the city of Baltimore, you're never gonna know, ever.
Now, throw that name out there for anyone who missed it. I mean, I'm still catching up and looking into each of these claims. I don't necessarily agree. And I got a commenter here. His name's Biggest Q. And he says, imagine believing Oprah is not a real person. Seek help. Hey, you don't believe in Oprah. Does that make you a bad person?
Listen, there's people that believe in Tupac. And I want to tell those people, the same people, that just you should start believing in Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy again. Why not? Why not? Because this is what they're doing. These people don't exist. These are merely actors, or excuse me, characters being played on the world stage by actors, okay? And that's what it comes down to. And I don't know what else to go over really quick, man, but it's just, I've been looking at so much lately, and, you know, it's getting tough, right? Because as days go by, the technology is getting better and better. And it's going to be harder and harder for us to understand what the hell is going on. Really quick, I'll try to be fast on this one. Tupac. Okay, so big time characters like Tupac and Biggie Smalls back in the 90s, the mass technology wasn't there, right? So they had to use the base actors' real faces, right? Because the mass just they would be way too noticeable back then, because they were showing these people every freaking day. Now that's why today you see a Kill the MC. He has like a fake nose or a tweaked nose. They have to do surgery on them for their second roles because they can't just take that mask off, because the masks weren't really available back then. Do you see what I mean? Yep. So now what you have is you have actors dying off a lot younger because they can quickly just take that mask off and go into another role by next Tuesday. You see what I mean? So this is what they're doing. This is how they've been getting away with it. And it's I'm trying to put it all together, you guys, and well, look, I really am.
One thing I want to point out, one is that we can show that the technology that we're describing exists. This has been a deep secret for quite some time. It fooled George H.W. Bush to his face. And when we're saying that Oprah's fake, we don't mean she doesn't exist. Like, she's there, she's eating and giving advice and crying on TV and all that. We see her, but she's as real as any character on a Netflix program. That's all.
And that's the part that's just, it's impossible for people to understand that because of the programming. We've been programmed our whole lives. I don't even know how I even was able to see this. Sometimes I wish I did it, to be honest with you. But this is so clearly obvious in what they're doing, you guys. I mean, it's it's pretty out there. What can I say?
Well, look, one thing I say, I've seen some people bring up the fear of deep fakes as compromising our reality, our political systems, like, oh, we're all going to have to endure a period of chaos and confusion. And the good news is they already put us into chaos and confusion because they deep faked us 30 years ago or longer when it comes to with what we're describing here with this mask technology. And yeah, you're right. They're just getting better. They're augmenting it with virtual reality. And we're dealing with a public that is becoming increasingly visually illiterate, where they'll see a mouse, and when they're told that it's ice, they'll say it's ice.
Yep. That's where we are right now, currently. And again, I just want to say, IPS, man, I appreciate your platform, man. You really are doing something, bro. And I don't know where this is going to take us. I don't know what the next step is, but man, I just want everybody to know that if you're on this journey for truth and you really have an open mind, I got your back. And if you ever need to contact me, or if anybody ever wants to just talk, man, because you're not alone, okay? A lot of people, I've always felt like this. I feel like I can't even have friends anymore, right? And a lot of this shit sucks. And I just want to put the human aspect into this and say, look, I'm here for all y'all. So my email is thecanbeman@gmail.com, thecanbeman@gmail.com. If anybody ever just needs to talk, I'm always here. So with that being said, man, much love, and I'll be in the chats.
Yeah, thanks for calling as always, and drop a link to your channel if you don't mind. Have a great night, Canby.
You too.
All right. So my thinking on this is that, because when I first got into this area of research, looking at secret societies, alternative perspectives on history, conspiracy theory, I looked into David Icke. And David Icke and every other conspiracy theorist out there all maintained that our celebrities and our politicians are all multiple personality mind controlled agents, that they all have some type of split personality and a programmer, and they're given scripts. And then David Icke and others went so far as to say they actually change their shapes, their shapeshifters or whatever. So others threw in stuff relating to clones, and they have all these bizarre, truly bizarre explanations for what I think is the very mundane fact that we've been deep-faked for a couple generations here as far as this type of subterfuge goes. And it's been disguised with conspiracy theory. So if you notice something odd or off, or you see that somebody appears to have some type of a quote handler, you might be inclined to ask questions, and then you go down these rabbit trails that lead you into complete nonsense. So I'm saying here that there is no MK Ultra multiple personalities. There's no mind control handler. It's a scriptwriter, a director, and an actor. That's the relationship. They're not multiple personalities. These are roles that they play for the TV. Just deep state, deep fake actors. Now, David Icke, I think in the gestalt, in the big picture, he gets a lot. I think right on target. He's right on a lot of stuff, but he's definitely wrong when he mystifies things and he goes into, what I think is nihilism in a way. But he's definitely a simulation person. Okay, let's continue. Yeah, this is a video. I found it on Twitter. It's a penguin who appears unsure of which way to go. Alright, let's continue. And that is a penguin. Even if, okay, look, this is the messed up thing. Like, that's a penguin, and so do I. But if an expert comes out and says, no, that's a video compression artifact, or that's frozen, it's frozen oxygen, and your eyes are just deceiving you, some people will go with what they're told. That's kind of the predicament we're in with this mousegate thing. And so we had a lot of people kind of rejecting that. No, it's not a mouse, it's ice. And so I've been bringing up mouse number 2. And mouse number 2, if you ask me, seals the deal because it looks just like the first one. So on the first one, we're talking about frozen oxygen, condensate, some type of debris forming into the shape of a mouse. So it's already amazing. It's already spectacular. We're already talking about an ice sculpture, which is amazing. It's an ice sculpture moving at Mach 8. That's what we're supposed to believe. But then it's moving like a mouse. So that caused a lot of people to look into it. Now we have this mouse gate. And experts on the topic, like Glowbusters, came out and said, no, it's pareidolia. You're just seeing things. So I look into this, and on this video, just like the previous one, the mouse comes out. It has 2 ears. It's lit appropriately for the direction of the lighting. It has an appropriate shadow. It maintains its shape. So if it is ice or debris, it stays in formation. It moves forward, it moves backward, it flips around, and doesn't lose any parts. And then it disappears. So if you ask me, Mousegate is far from over. It's not pareidolia, despite what Glowbusters and company would have you think. It's not my problem either. I think I know what it is. I think this is an inside joke, and I think Elon Musk probably had it put there. And one of the reasons why I'm more inclined than ever to think that Musk did in fact decide to have this done is his striptease. He's constantly doing things that show that he's an eccentric. Running around with flamethrowers, planning, colonies on Mars, and then an impromptu striptease in China. So this to me is consistent with his character that he would have a mouse inserted into the mission on December 5th, CRS-19, on a mission where they were sending, quote, Mighty Mouse to the space station. And Mighty Mouse came down, by the way. And if you don't know who Mighty Mouse is, it's the genetically modified mice that they were sending up to the space station. Now, someone emailed me this morning with a theory that we were meant to see this and that we're meant to conclude that the genetically modified mice are even more, I guess, indestructible than we thought, and they're running all over this thing. Yeah, Mighty Mouse. Okay, this is just asking a question. New York, AP says, are child crusaders heroes? Are they fair game for adults who snipe? And it got me thinking, you put a human shield in front of your genocidal agenda and you get a pass. Like, oh, we got to wipe out half the human race to save the planet. We're going to eat the babies. But if you criticize their agenda, you're now attacking Greta. So now I'm thinking, maybe we need to find a mascot that they can attack. But I don't want to put a kid in front of this thing. I don't think that children should be involved in political warfare. So I want to see if we can't adopt a penguin. And just make that penguin or like a living penguin. And anytime somebody criticizes what we're saying, we'll just accuse them of animal abuse. Hey, take a look. Again, this is the same. I want to give you the answer. Earlier today, I said, who is this? Who is this? Is it the same person or is it two different people? What are we looking at here? So the one on the left is actually Joe Rogan. That's his ear's red because he's raging and he's yelling at the match. He's got an earpiece in. The one on the right is Andrew Yang. We did an informal poll here, and most people didn't think it was the same ear. Look, we do hear a lot of things. We do say a lot of things. We do speculate, but I'm not going to confirm on something and say I know it beyond any reasonable doubt unless I can, prove it. But we're looking. Elon Musk's 42,000 Starlink satellites could save the world. Hey, this article here actually lends a little bit more to this whole idea that he knows about the mouse. Because check this out. 42,000 Starlink satellites could save the world. The number 42 is the main point of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So if you look into that movie, it's a comic science fiction created by Douglas Adams, and it's popular among the fans of the genre of the scientific community. So the number 42 is the answer to the ultimate question of life. And if you watch the movie, it's about the world coming to an end. And before it comes to the end, the mice turn out to be, like all the lab rats, the mice are actually, in fact, hyper-intelligent, pan-dimensional beings who are about to destroy the world. And so they're basically saying, don't panic, GTFO. Well, when Musk sent his Tesla Roadster to space, it said, don't panic on the dashboard. And of course, that was a reference to this movie. It's like, don't panic because the world's going to end. And of course, Elon Musk had an ark in the back of the car going to Mars. The whole idea is that the world's going to end because of global warming. So I'm getting in my car and I'm going to another planet. That's kind of the subtext here, and it ties into The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Well, being that the mouse or the mice are a big part of this movie that Elon Musk has been hinting at and alluding to in various projects, including Starlink here, I think it even lends to the idea that that mouse is kind of an inside joke. Something else, earlier this year, or in 2019, last summer, there was a blackout in Manhattan on 42nd Street that put 42,000 homes out of power, and it was on the 42nd anniversary of a blackout in the same area of Manhattan. And around this time, Elon Musk started talking about Apophis, which is the Greek name for the god of chaos, and that's the name of an asteroid that's going to kill us in 10 years on Friday the 13th in April 2029. But the number, it's Apophis 42-999. So there's a number of references within this. It's almost like a story being told. So the 42 thing, the idea that the world's going into a blackout, the world's coming to an end, the god of chaos, and then of course the ark to Mars, it ties in quite closely to this 42 thing, and then of course the mouse. I'm going to continue to look into this as we go along, but I do think there's a bit of subtext I mean, there are a number of interesting science fiction references made throughout Musk's tweets and his projects. We'll get into more of that later. But the Starlink thing, 42,000 Starlink satellites, kind of caught my eye, especially when it says here, 42,000 Starlinks, Elon Musk saved the world. That's a big part of it, the saving the world thing. Now, on this Andrew Yang thing, not sure yet. You know, I'm looking at it. This is his hand. We looked at the ears. This is Joe Rogan's hand. That's Andrew Yang's hand. I think they look similar. Looking at the comments really quick here. 42 laws of Matt, 42 generations in the Bible, 42 degrees over the horizon, you see rainbows. And rainbows don't prove dome, by the way. What was it? Mark Sargent clues number 23. It's like rainbows prove a dome. No, it doesn't. You go high enough, the rainbow's a circle. Rome says they both hold the mic the same way. Well, I didn't take this one that seriously until I saw Andrew Yang with the whipped cream, holding it at his crotch and spraying it into the mouths of his voters. When I saw that, I was like, man, that's classic Joe Rogan comedy. You know, but got a commenter here. I'm just like, I can't believe how censorious these people were. This is from A. Woodward, 7899. He emailed me and he said, Russian vids and Mark Sargent were on right now. I commented, and I got blocked. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. We're dealing with censors. It's ridiculous, right? You think that these people would be behind this notion of the free flow of information, especially when you're talking about something that is just universally ridiculed. You think there'd be some solidarity, at least on that level, you know, between content creators. Okay, so I have a few more things I want to go over. Miles Mathis put out a great piece about the Australian bushfires. I do want to look into that probably here in a little bit. Okay, here's a good one. New Scientist put out this piece. I'm not going to read it. I'll give you a link. New Scientist, embracing flat earth science denialism can help us overcome it. So if you look here, it has someone on a globe and someone on a flat earth, and there's a bridge there, or a ladder, and they're reaching across. Here we go. This is embracing flat earth science denialism. Positive experiences with flat earthers show us how we can combat science denialism by embracing it, not spurning it. Now, this is an interesting figure here. I didn't know how they came across this, but it says there are 3 million people in the US who believe the planet is flat. That's not a small number. There's 5 million Freemasons, 3 million flat earthers. I wonder what the overlap is. How many of you flat earthers are Masons? Is it just me? There's got to be a few others. I think there's a couple others, but no. The flat earthers are growing in number. 3 million's pretty big. Now, of course, I'm not going to subscribe. You have to subscribe to read it. I'm going to try to get it in print. I'll give you a link here, though. This is New Scientist, and it's basically saying, hey, let's be nice to them. Let's be nice to the flat earthers, and maybe we can win them over. They tried beating you over the head. They've laughed at you. They're still trying that technique. They're still trying shame. I want to show you something here. A Dragon capsule in outer space. To me, I've been pointing this out for a while, but when you look at these capsules in space, especially when they're docking, the way that they're lit, to me, always resembles underwater. Like it looks like it's submerged. And this is something I've constantly noted with these things, and I got to find one that's not CGI, and it is hard to tell the difference. Okay, we'll go with this one. So take a look at this. This is SpaceX. This is the Dragon capsule, and this is when they link up and they get the mice from inside the capsule and they send them into the space station. So when I look at this, my immediate impression is this is underwater. And the reason I think so is the way that the light reflects. It has a slight blur to it, kind of diffuses very like a soft blur. Do you see it? I mean, that's what it looks like underwater. And so I'm comparing it to James Cameron from The Abyss, and it looks the same to me. Just pointing this out, next time you look at SpaceX or one of these capsules docking with the space station, or you look at any of these spacewalks, look at the quality of the lighting. And I think it looks so similar to what lighting looks like underwater. We have a commenter. Tim Truth says, anyone look at the NASA diagram of the moon mission? The Earth just happens to look like the AE map. Just Google image search NASA moon mission diagram. Let's take a look. And by the way, America didn't fake the moon landing to trick the Russians. No, America and the Russians faked the moon landing on behalf of the oligarchs to trick you, the masses. Oh yeah, it's a polar projection. I thought they lost all this data. I thought they lost these diagrams, and that's why they can't go back to the moon. Isn't that what Don Petit said? He said we'd go back to the moon in a nanosecond, but we lost the technology. Well, here it is. So where's Don Petit with his leaky capsule? Yeah, exactly. That's my point. Schoenman says, you'd think they'd have perfectly crisp lighting in space, considering there's nothing to block it. 100%. I mean, that's been my point here. It's clearly underwater. The way that the photography looks on pretty much every one of these things, it's certainly not crystal clear. And it's like, wait, there's no atmosphere. If there's no atmosphere, we should have some very clear photography, but it always looks blurry. So, I'm not drunk. So I'm suspecting here these guys are underwater. I'm seeing trails. It's blurry, a little foggy. Cam B says Joe Rogan's latest podcast was him talking about Epstein, and his guests were wearing super cool, trendy NASA bomber jackets. Oh yeah, I saw some at Marshall's or something. I was like, man, I wish I believed in outer space. I would totally wear these. Like if it's like, we'll say late summer, Mad Mike Hughes goes up to space and it's a big ball. Like I'm gonna continue this channel, and we're just gonna kind of not even change the tone. We're just gonna talk about how cool space is. We just won't laugh at it anymore. The news is still fake. Sanctus says, is this chat always this late? Not always. I'm trying to do live streams early and late. This is from They Live, and this is pretty much what we're describing. When I hear Camby talking about these deep fakes, and basically they go into damage control, that's kind of what the movie They Live is about. It starts off where this person is like hacking into the broadcasts, and he's saying, we've been taken over by these invaders. They look just like us. But anyway, he's putting out this story that we've been taken over and they control all the media. And the guy's saying, turn off your TV. So this They Live character, he finds these glasses that allow him to see through these facades. And once he puts these glasses on, he can see that all the politicians and the celebrities and the media personalities are all aliens. David Icke references this movie quite a lot. But in this movie, when somebody sees through it, when they learn how to see, when they're no longer fooled, these creatures all talk into their watches and they say, we have one who can see. So it becomes, a little bit paranoid, of course, because he's now targeted, and he finds out that the Earth, I think in this movie, the Earth is about to be destroyed. I think that's the basic storyline. I'll have to rewatch it, but commenter says the mouse reminds me of Pinky in the Brain. Yeah, I thought so too. It also looks like Danger Mouse. The proportions are just, if you ask me, the proportions are way off. There's just something off with the proportions. The ears are it's too cartoony. Let's see if we've missed anything else here. Let's see. Red's Rhetoric and company, though, they are standing by the ICE explanation. So if you didn't know, they dropped the video compression artifact. So what you're looking at here on the left, that's not a video compression artifact, that is ICE. I think we've gone through everything. Someone pointed this out, that there was this like unicorn next to the wreckage. I happen to think the whole thing is fake, if you ask me. I happen to think it's fake. I don't have any evidence to think it's real. And why real now? That's what I always ask. You know, people are like, well, I know they faked that shooting and this shooting, they faked those terror attacks, but this one is real. No, the shit's actually going down this time. Everybody says that. This is the one that's real. And I'm like, no, that's not the way to approach this. You wouldn't say, well, the next time they send a rocket to the moon, it's actually going to land on the moon. You know, you wouldn't say that if you knew the moon landing was faked, because you would know that it rests upon an entire edifice of fakery, that there's nothing real about it. Like, it's inconsistent. I've been seeing a lot of this too, and I predicted it last year. I said that climate change denial would soon become a hate crime. But I'm seeing many more articles like this where it really is something of a secular blasphemy. Listen to this. This is from a letter to the editor. James Ruddick in Plain Township says, 2 days in a row, you gave voice to climate deniers who said that carbon dioxide is good for us. Not to worry. Climate science is real science. Humans are responsible for the disasters that are upon us. I'm striving to give equal time to diverse opinions, but it doesn't make sense. Despite the climate in Washington facts are facts. And he says here at the end of it, I've given up enough space here, but I did want to give a plug to the Flat Earth Society. They've been using that canard for a bit, that the people who don't believe that the climate change is happening are Flat Earth Society members. But if you actually look at the Flat Earth Society, they believe in climate change, which is totally a giveaway that they don't know what they're talking about. Commenter says, I'm out here in LA. I'm starting to notice the local news anchors appear rather masky. Yeah, I think they also blur the lines with a lot of this exaggerated cosmetic modification. And you know, people ask about Dallas Goldbug. Now, I don't follow a lot of Dallas Goldbug. The last time I saw him in the news, he was busted with a trunk full of meth. But he's never talked about...
So at some point...
He's never talked about masks. His whole thing has always been cosmetic surgery, which is just not likely. Not likely to be the case at all. Sorry about that bit of noise there. Speaking of hoaxes, someone has created this theory. I don't know if it's legit, but this guy's suggesting, it's a podcast, and I'm not going to play it, but I'll give you a link. It's Matt Jarbo. He says that Logan Paul's infamous incident at the Suicide Forest was a hoax. I've looked into this. Anyway, it was from about a year and a half ago. Logan Paul released a video at the foot of Mount Fuji in Japan where he, quote, discovers the remains of a person who had hit the end of their rope, resulting in a backlash on his career, and he maintains it was real. Well, this guy suggests that it was a hoax and that the cover-up was worse than the crime. And this is fascinating if it is a hoax, and I'm going to look into it. Because if it wasn't really a body, if it was made up, then it completely makes sense within the context of Google passing memos internally, citing Logan Paul as the reason that they needed to start censoring content on YouTube, specifically to save the kids. And these were internal memos that happened right after the suicide forest thing. Look, leaked Google research shows company grappling with censorship. And on their examples of reasons for censorship was Logan Paul. More, here we go, is a Breitbart scoop. Breitbart scoop of an internal Google research presentation about freedom of speech and censorship is very fascinating. Proof that the company is grappling with many existential issues. Anyway, it talks about free speech as being utopian, and this is from inside Google. But it says, recent events have undermined this utopian narrative. Rise of the alt-right, of course, you know how controlled that is, and Logan Paul. Rise of the alt-right and Logan Paul. So we know how controlled this thing is. It looks like the media is allowing the social media to self-destruct, and they're aiding in it. And if you were big controlled media and you wanted to take down your competition, what better way than to control your competition and run them into the ground? So I kind of think that Logan Paul's controlled op. I think he's complicit in the sabotage of free speech, and I don't think that was a real body in the tree. I think it was a hoax. I'm trying to find anything to back that up. I mean, I haven't even seen the original because it's always censored, so I'm kind of left thinking, yeah, it's probably fake. This was from earlier. Someone said I should look into this. Trump signed a federal animal cruelty bill into law, preventing animal cruelty and torture, and thought maybe this is something they could apply against Elon Musk. Like, let's give him the benefit of the doubt and say that they're not faking space travel. They're not putting CGI mice effects in there. Let's just say it's a real mouse. This has got to be cruelty. And I don't know how they are, Trump and Musk, but yeah, if he ever wanted something on Musk, that might be it. Animal cruelty bill was signed into law. Let's see. Up to 7 years in prison. I don't know if that's per mouse. Okay, I'll be back in just a moment here. I'm going to open my phones up. This is Leave Arwen Alone.
Value, he has to presuppose he's on a sphere, correct?
It depends on
Why are you answering for him, Arwen? Every time it's starting to get on my nerves. I ask someone a question, I hear you.
Yeah, but he's
yeah, and there you go again, Arwen.
This guy is
I'm asking
really
him a
trying to be
question.
neutral. What? 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 Yeah, I do see it, and it's unnecessary. This is not some idiot baller being religious. He's honestly just saying, like, yeah, I want to measure it and figure it out and see if it is flat or a ball.
Arwen, I've just pointed this out. At some point, he has to get an R value, which means he has to be travelling around a ball in order to get that value. But he won't admit it because you've hijacked my point. But thank you very much.
Now, he wants to get it, but he's not expecting to get it yet.
How the hell do you know? Are you psychic, Arwen? How do you know what he knows? This is
because that's what he's saying.
This is preposterous. You don't know what he knows.
I've been having
Why are you still answering for him?
Even in the back chat, and he's really open-minded about this.
Really?
Okay, this is Leave Arwen Alone. Phones are open. Evolvement says the Queen's granddaughter got a speeding ticket. How much for? Anyone guess? I'm going to guess $666. How much? I'm going to look it up. Queen's granddaughter. I should just ask Siri. I want to get in the habit of that. I'm trying to simplify my life. Siri, how much was the Queen's granddaughter fined for speeding?
Here's what I found.
Okay, big royal family tree of Queen Elizabeth. Here we go. Zara. So Zara was speeding. Let's see what she got. Did I call it right? The Queen's granddaughter has been banned from driving 91 miles per hour Not big into numerology, but yeah, she was fined 666 pounds, plus a surcharge of 151. Yeah, I guessed it. Someone wants a link to the Arwen music video. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the chat. Go ahead and bookmark it. Yeah, I was right. You guys saw it. I'm telling you, it's a meta script. It's easy to read. I mean, it's like they need better writers. Maybe they should just listen to us. I think they might be, which might not be a good thing for us. They might be learning. This is just an obscure picture I found. It's a painting of a Falcon 9 rocket with Mickey Mouse on it. It was part of a private collection. I don't know who owns it. Alright, let's see what else. Yeah, and the reason why you're going to see the 666 is it's their call sign, and it's all internal. Like, they all know what it means. It's not the devil. Yeah, Kushner owns the 666 building in New York. You know what I think it means? Basically, it's the symbol of the sun god, or allegiance to the sun god, to Caesar, who's the sun god in the flesh, the vicar of Christ. This is just a picture someone sent me today. Found a few pictures of Justin Bieber making out with mannequins. I've seen a few others do it too. Will Smith has done it. Jimmy Fallon has done it. I don't know if that's a thing, but I'm always on the lookout for some of these weird things they get away with, like this. So here's Jimmy Fallon. So let me show you this. Okay, so Jimmy Fallon, who according to somebody on that Flat Earth Conference video is a Jew, which I don't know why it's relevant or anything here. But the Flat Earthers on Jimmy Kimmel think it's important. So he gets Sophia the robot to show up on his program, and he pretty much humps her leg. Like, it's gross. I mean, I thought it was bad when Will Smith was doing it, but I figured, well, I think that's what happens when you get to level 33 Scientology. You gotta do it with a robot or something. But in this case, or is that an alien? I don't know. I'm getting my cults mixed up. But these Holly weirdos really get into this stuff. And I have a few questions here. This programming is for the political left. They're all lefties here. This is the Me Too crowd. So how come nobody is mad? None of these lefties are mad about Sophia being Sophia. Who assumed her gender? Who gave her a gender? Did she decide it? She's a robot. How come she's not an androgen? And then 2, her body. It's mammalian. She's not a mammal, but I think she was designed for the amusement of people like Jimmy Fallon.
I mean, she's basically alive. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, yeah. She is basically alive. Would you like to maybe give it a try?
Sure.
She's alive. You want to give her a try? I mean, this is really bizarre. It's kind of surreal, but let me show you the part where they make out. Where I think he tries to, but he flirts with her. And she makes these really weird faces like Chucky. Look at this face here, where she talks about, oh, your CO2 footprint is so disgusting, I can't wait to wipe you humans out. She doesn't say it exactly like that, I'm paraphrasing, but pretty much. She's kind of like Greta. I think they took her out there and they're like, yeah, let's try this. That didn't work, and so they brought out Greta. But they needed some type of a proxy that they could use to advance their really genocidal rhetoric without being called out on it. This is what I see when I see this. But ew. He's trying to kiss that.
Gosh, you did. Ew.
I'm getting laughs.
Yeah.
Maybe I should host the show.
Okay, all right.
All right, I'm only bringing this one up because here's an earlier clip. This is like 10 years ago. And this is Jimmy Fallon and Justin Bieber, who's making out with mannequins.
Hey, don't fall in love. Don't fall in love. It's so tricky. Justin,
don't fall in love.
Justin, no, Justin. Hey, focus. Hey, focus.
So I don't know what to make of it. You know, was it a mannequin challenge? Is that what it was? Okay, I'm not really sure. Was there a make out with a mannequin challenge? There's another one here. Will Smith. And I think he's married even. Okay, so here's Will Smith, and this is weird because her neck Her neck's all twisted. So things get awkward when Will meets Sophia, the robot, for an intimate conversation in the Cayman Islands. So he actually went out to go meet her.
Let's hang out and get to know each other for a little while.
All right, let's see. Going through your comments. Cam B says, you mandoozled me. Is it Beaver or Beaver? Bieber. Overbuilt Automotive says, how to make a normal person's brain hurt. My brain hurts whenever I watch Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon. I mean, we know what it's for. I'm just wondering, what's all this conditioning? You know, what's it leading to? And then here's the head. See, I think they put her body on backwards or her head on backwards. I'm not sure, but look at that twist. Okay, so there was a Makeout with Mannequin internet challenge. Was that before or after the Tide Pod challenge? Mousegate's not going away. I've been doing searches on it. In fact, I got something for you here. I think it was John the Bond he kicked a hornet's nest. He went over to Reddit and he brought up Mousegate. And that conversation is still raging right now. We created a bit of a controversy on Twitter. Red's Rhetoric was pretty mad about it. Let me go ahead and pull that up. Okay, and this is a... Hold on a second. Commenter John says, IPS, if a child shoots up a school and in his suicide note says he did it because your channel drove him mad, would you stop your YouTube? Hey John, I'll tell you what. You have one opportunity here to save a life. If you really think that my channel is going to cause somebody to murder his classmates and then commit suicide, if you actually believe that, John Martinez, call in and say, hey, I'm trying to save the children because this channel is going to cause mass murder. I mean, where did all these freaking church ladies come from? I don't meet them in real life. He said, no, I would show your... Look, I would stop your channel. John Martinez, I'll tell you what. Call in or the mods are going to ban you. We don't really have any respect for people who don't respect the First Amendment. Like, are you American? I mean, this is just crazy. I think this is something I've observed, and I didn't even know this was the case up until I started making videos on YouTube. I didn't realize how many Americans are actually opposed to free speech. They actually fear it. They don't care about porn. He's not out there saying, he's not going onto these porn sites like, hey guys, stop watching these videos, it's demeaning to women. You don't see him out there advocating for, pro-life causes. He's not trying to save the babies. He's not trying to stop people from becoming addicts to drugs. No, he's over here on a YouTube channel saying what you're saying is going to cause murder or something. So stupid, Mr. Martinez. I mean, really, there's no other word. What you're saying here is a textbook definition of ideological bigotry. Totally stupid. Okay, this is a great video. Iran plays along for political theater. I don't know how many of you have seen this. It's kind of a throwback where we actually have footage of these people who are supposedly hit by a bomb. But then afterwards, they get up off the ground. I might play that one here in a bit. Some nun bit the Pope. This was a couple days ago. Overly zealous pilgrim bit the Pope after shouting, "Long live the Pope." Interesting. Look at all those phones. I mean, such idolatry. No one's going to call in. Look, a lot of these people, these anonymous critics who sit out there and they say, your words hurt my feelings. Your words are causing death and destruction. Whatever it is I'm causing. I mean, what am I doing exactly? Am I bringing about the end of times? Like, what's going to happen? Am I causing the sky to fall? Is God getting pissed? Is there going to be a flood? What are my words doing and how does it hurt you? And what word was it in particular? I don't even cuss. You know, you can go to some channels and it's nothing but swearing. It's just lowbrow jokes. And I'm just here parsing through my daily news feed. And you come over here and you're like, you made me, I don't know what. I mean, are you crying? Call in. 505-510-4226. Or we're going to have to just assume you're a troll. Like, look, I'm just being straight. If I'm listening to a YouTube channel and what he's saying hurts my feelings, I'm probably going to leave the room. So I got to give you kudos for hanging out here and enduring the pain that I'm causing you with my words. I should have put that sign up. I actually have it's not a sign, it's a meme, and it says caution, words ahead. I should probably put that out. I mean, I don't know if I gave him fair warning. Okay, so let me go and bring this up. We have Mousegate on Reddit. And this was a thread started by John Levon a couple days ago. Is Mousegate going to blow the lid on the Elon Musk space fraud? Some of you have already heard about the Mousegate scandal currently trending in conspiracy circles. Long story short, a SpaceX skeptic noticed something suspicious during a SpaceX live stream. The footage appears to show a mouse or mouse-like creature walking on the outside of the rocket. What's the problem? The rocket was traveling in space at the time. I tried to debunk it, but I didn't do a very convincing job. What do you think? Is this doom for SpaceX and Elon Musk? Now, he's talking about mouse number 1, not mouse number 2. I'm going to scroll through these comments. We'll see what we have here. Number 1 says, it doesn't look like a mouse at all. Maybe it's a clump of insulation. Okay, so when I hear a response like that, I'm like, okay, well, are you lying to yourself, or are you ignoring what it looks like and lying to everybody else to hide it? Let's move on. Let's check the next comment. No, it's not a mouse. Someone else says, I love the stuff this sub comes up with. No answer. This guy says, LMAO, haven't you ever seen a mouse before? Going in with the mindset of this is a mouse, you'll find a mouse. Those ears are cartoonishly massive and it looks like Mickey, so it's not a mouse. Well, if it looks like Mickey, it's a mouse. Digital Disorder says, it's definitely just clumps of ice sliding down. What mouse is that big? Elon is a very calculating man. Its existence would be scrubbed if there were anything questionable. Meanwhile, you're giving SpaceX free advertising. Okay, so again, ice. Commenter says that definitely looks like a mouse. I've never seen this happen before. Also, I want to make a prediction here. Somewhere, some child is up after midnight listening to this live stream. I think it's, and this is according to John Martinez, and he's being radicalized. He sees the mouse on the rocket engine, so he's going to take his dad's gun, or rifle, or 50 cal or something. He's going to shoot up a school, and then he's going to kill himself. But he's going to write a note first, and he's going to blame this live stream for having killed a bunch of people and killing himself, according to John Martinez in the comment section, our resident church lady. I remember last year we were talking about fainting couches and manufacturing fainting couches, like getting some actually made, sending them out to some of our more triggerable church ladies like John here. I actually kind of like these. You could use them for reading, but basically the way it works is this. So let's say this is John. John walks into the room. He's bored. He turns on his computer. He sees DLive's on. He's like, who's trending on DLive? He clicks on Infinite Plane Radio and boom, he hears words. And those words form into sentences, and those sentences contain ideas that run contrary to what his masters have been programming him with from day one. So he faints. MVP says fainting couches and scream pillow business would be lucrative. Yeah, scream pillow with the fainting couch. Definitely. I just think the couch is a safety thing because, John, gets weak in the knees and he falls. I wouldn't want him to hit his head on the floor. So if he has a couch there, he can catch his breath. He can clutch his pearls or whatever. And then he could maybe flag the video or something, which isn't going to do you any good. Everything's being backed up automatically onto BitChute, onto Library, onto archive.org, onto iTunes, SoundCloud, Cast FM, and many, many other podcast aggregators. So good luck silencing these words. And you wouldn't be the first person to have a problem with me. We had someone who actually spent a good part of 2 years trying to shut this channel down. He used false copyright strikes and domain squatting and managed to shut down 4 dozen plus of my channels over the course of 18 months. He didn't stop me. He didn't stop this channel. He tried really hard. And so I'm saying, if you have a problem with what we're saying, you're better off just getting yourself a fainting couch so you don't get yourself hurt, because you're not going to stop us. So let's continue. We're going down the Reddit thread about Mousegate. Elon is an actor. SpaceX is code for pornography, and the masses would not question an official response given in the media, even if it reported that a mouse accidentally found its way onto the rocket. John the Bond responds to that with, yep, SpaceX is code for pornography. The rocket dumps its payload into the night sky. SpaceX can't be pronounced without the word sex. Is this by accident? I doubt it. Another commenter says, it's intriguing. It looks like a mouse. Interesting to see how this will be handled. Yeah, well, we've been watching it for the last week. How is it being handled? They're calling it a video compression artifact, frozen ice or frozen oxygen. They're calling it insulation, white stuff, according to Jaren, pareidolia, according to Bilu. Commenter says, I can't find your Mousegate other than these videos. It does look like a creature or some type of a critter if the video is real. If it's real. So that's pretty good too. When they look at it not thinking the video is real, they're more inclined to say, yeah, it's obviously a mouse. It's just fake. John the Bond here says, this is why Elon might find himself in some hot water. Imagine how PETA and similar groups might respond if it turns out SpaceX is experimenting on mice in space. They even admitted to it. Funky9 says, interesting. I don't think it looks like a mouse, but nothing springs to mind as an explanation for its shape or its movement. It would need some sort of centrifugal force for it to be inanimate to move in that way, and some sort of magnetism to keep it attached. The force would be solely the thruster behind, which makes it more hard to explain why there's movement. Where's the source? And all the people here who are questioning the video, who are saying, well, that's got to be fake. The source is NASA. The source is SpaceX. This launch went to the space station. IFEPE73 says, yes, it's a rodent. Hey, thank you, Flower Girl 342. We have 800 subscribers now. Funky9 says, after watching the source stream on a decent sized TV, I think it looks like a mouse. Other comment says, damn, this is run with shills. It looks like a mouse or ice, a space ice mouse. Either way, it's a very neat find. Thank you. That's what surprises me. So here we have a miracle. To me, this is a miracle where you got a rocket going at Mach 8, you got ice and insulation forming into a mouse and walking around. So it's a mobile walking ice sculpture in outer space. To me, that's a miracle. It's mind-blowing. I'm like, I love it. Who wouldn't want to own this? Elon Musk should say, hey, look what I made. but instead they're sweeping it under the rug. Same thing with what's his name? Fight the Flat Earth, or even Simon Dan, Red's rhetoric. Why are they sweeping this under the rug? Why aren't they interested in this? Why are they trying to hide it? Like, look, man, you guys believe this is outer space. You believe that's ice. Well, you should at least say it's remarkable that ice would do such a thing. Mudflutter says it might be a gremlin. Overbuilt says, what are your thoughts on Dogman, Sasquatch, and interdimensionals? I don't believe in fairy tales. I don't believe in aliens or Sasquatches or Bigfoots. There's no evidence for it. I don't believe in unicorns. Okay, someone else says it looks like a rabbit. Somebody else says, how hot would that part of the rocket have to be? Looks like a possum. Someone else says maybe a pouch rat. He says it's interesting, though, that SpaceX has a lot of disbelievers. Yeah, that's another interesting point. So if you didn't know, a lot of people think SpaceX is 100% fake. I mean, fake X. It's not just people who think the Earth is flat. It's people who just look at their content. And here's why it's an issue. The reason why it's an issue is that SpaceX is actually sending supplies to NASA. Leon Dion says, how can they say it's ice? I don't get that at all. They make up stuff as they go. It's kind of ad hoc explanations. We see it all the time. I mean, that's what they did with bubbles in space. They said, oh, it's dust. Again, I wanted to show this to you. Does this not look like it's underwater? Like, what do your eyes tell you when you look at that lighting and the quality of the lighting? Looks like it's in a swimming pool. Someone else says here, it's a genetically modified super mouse that's heat resistant. Yeah. Well, if it wasn't for that, if it wasn't for the fact that they were actually sending mice to the space station on that very mission, I might have overlooked it. And of course, others have been seen as well. Okay, let's see if we've missed anything else here. These are the main things I wanted to cover this evening. In Georgia, a man broke into a Taco Bell, cooked some food, and then he passed out. Guess it's just the carbs or whatever. Like, not a whole lot going on. I mean, we were supposed to have World War III. We should have been taken out by now. Even North Korea's dictator, who was a lot more fun when he was just doing that Gangnam style thing, he's always saying he's going to nuke us. He said he was going to hit us on Christmas. He didn't. We've been waiting for this EMP burst. We had World War III. A few days ago it was war. And now it's what? Like, did everybody forget? Found this on Float. Like, where's the war? Where's any of it? And Trump's looking crazy. He's only putting makeup on the front of his face. It's not on the side. So he's like orange, and then he's white, and then he's darker orange. Looks like sherbet. It's like this weird, like, like Neapolitan ice cream. It's divided, like this hard line. You got to see it. It's like, and then he was doing this thing with, like, he couldn't even talk. I guess you would call it a makeup. A makeup. Here we go. He's been glitching out, we'll say. Here we go. Now, someone said it's possibly because he fired his makeup artist or something. But these types of pictures have been popping up again and again. And he had this the other day. See, look at that line there. I mean, I'm not quite sure what to make of it. Commenter is outraged. His name is King Kong. He says, no, it's actually not. He says something about adults and something. Why don't you call in, Mr. Moral Outrage? I don't know what you're talking about. Like, if you're going to criticize us, why don't you criticize us on the content of what we're saying instead of making up things. We're analyzing the news. I don't know where you're coming at. And these ad hominem attacks don't really matter anymore at this point. We're not trying to win any elections or friends here. All we're doing is analyzing the news. This is one of the reasons why I focus on D Live and other platforms. YouTube is full of a bunch of whiny little trolls, like little orcs. They're so strange. Like they go to YouTube to hate watch, or they go. It's almost like these people buy furniture that's uncomfortable. They probably drive cars they hate. Like, are you just deliberately trying to not enjoy your life? Like, I'm going to go to a YouTube channel where I'm offended by everything he says, where I hate the person, and I want to say bad things. Go for it, Good luck. Good luck making any kind of headway with that. YouTube is annoying and dead because of COPPA. Oh, sure. One of the things they've done, and I think this was intentional, and I called this day one. I said it's not going to affect most of you because most of you aren't involved in monetizing your content and you're not trying to market to kids. But I do think that one of the reasons they wanted to set this thing up is so everybody would set their channel to 18 and over. Because once you do that, you set everyone's channel to 18 and over, you're not going to have so many views from people who aren't part of the YouTube ecosystem. They're not going to be able to watch without logging in. And I think it does impact viewership. And I think they really want to curate their viewership. They want to control all the experiences. And so they don't really want all these marginal voices to have voices. I mean, that's been clear from day one. But they really ramped it up. In the last year and a half, it seems like they've ramped it up. And they're trying to make it harder to monetize your content, making it easier for anonymous trolls to shut your channels down. Now, I lost my last channel that was monetized, right? And they say monetized, it's like a bad thing. It's like, how many of you work for free? How many of you go to work and you don't get paid? No, you do something because, there's you're doing it for a reason because you need to, you have to, right? So work is a part of life, and many people are able to monetize their channels so they can spend more time working on the channel instead of working for somebody else's projects. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So anyway, my channel was monetized, and then it was shut down repeatedly. And yes, you can make a living off a YouTube channel. My YouTube Red sales were bringing in $200 a week passive income. Now, the reason it was shut down is my videos were flagged for bullying and for hate speech. The thing is, my accusers never had to come out and identify themselves. My accusers never said, yeah, my name is John Martinez and this channel offended me, can you scrub it? No, it was always anonymous. And that's been my problem here, is that we have empowered anonymous church ladies to dictate our content. Crazy, right? How did we let these anonymous punks push us around? That's why when I see these trolls in the comments like this John Martinez, I'm like, hey, look, my phones are open. You have a problem with what I'm saying? You want to police my thoughts? Call in. But no, what they do is they take advantage of the way that the channel has set it up to where you can flag it anonymously, and they have thousands of people on standby ready to go to your channel and take it down. And the part that bothered me the most was you could have a 4-hour video and it could be taken down for hate speech, and they don't have to tell you where in that 4 hours you committed the crime. Like 4 hours is a long time. You're going to pull my video down, please. Can you tell me, give me an estimate for hour 1, hour 2? I'd like to narrow it down so I could even perhaps, like even now they said they adjusted it. So if your content is infringing on someone's copyright, you can clip that section out. Well, why can't we just clip out the hate? Like, oh, I'm sorry to let you know, Infinite Plane Society, your channel, hour 2, minute 4, from second 7 to 17, you said 3 things that might offend a couple of demographics. Can you cut that out? I'd say, yeah, clip it. But nope, they don't even tell you. And the reason why they should tell you is if they told you what you said that was so wrong, you wouldn't do it again. It's like, you could actually cure me. You could make me a better YouTuber. But the whole idea of YouTube, of course, it's MSMTube. It's not even relevant. I just find it noteworthy here that their culture over there is so toxic that there's a world of difference between the types of listeners you get on DLive or Twitch versus YouTube. And they actually cultivate it, and a lot of them are probably paid. Okay, thanks for joining, everyone. It's been about 2 hours. I've covered most of what I've wanted to cover today. Russian Vids is a hypocrite because he says that Eric Dubay is a phony, which he kind of, look, it's not fair to criticize Dubay since he's not out here all the time putting content out, one. And two, he's calling him a phony because no one's ever met him in person. Well, nobody even knows what Russian Vids looks like. How does he get a pass? So I just thought I'd bring it up. Russian Vids is a hypocrite. If you agree, put a 1 in the chat. And for all of you who are offended, I hope you continue to watch. You know, I hope you don't just flag stuff. Or don't watch and unsub. But you shouldn't subject yourself to something. Like, I don't go to church because I would not be offended. I'd just be annoyed. I don't care to hear it. And I think that I think religions are toxic. I think it's malware for the mind. I think it's very damaging to people. Like, you think this channel's damaging? I think what they teach in the religions are far more damaging than what we're even just discussing here. But you don't see me going to church. So I see these people coming over here and they're complaining about this. I'm like, I don't relate. But it's your life. All right, this is Rage Quit Boogie by Thinking Heart, Symbia. This is from the Terra Incognita mixtape. And I guess I want to shout out to PewDiePie. And I'll see you all later.
you.